Hey guys, Blair Thompson here from Believe In, and tonight you join me from Mono, Ontario, and the home of my design studio here in Canada, and also the home of the Canada Modern Archive. Hopefully some of you guys have checked Canada Modern out before. If not, canadamodern.org, find out more about it. An archive, Canadian design, modernism, 1960 to 1985. I just want to kind of use tonight as an opportunity to sort of hang out, share some of the cool stuff in the archive, things I think you'll like to see, stuff that maybe is on the archive site at the moment, but you can't get a full experience of it, so we can flip through pages, look at a few details, just generally sort of take our time and go through it, nerd out. Sometimes there'll be less talking, sometimes there'll be a little bit more. Try not to bore you. I realise it's geeky stuff, but something I'm particularly obsessed by and find really important that we need to document and preserve and tell the world our story. I myself am Canadian. I left when I was a teenager. Sadly lost my accent in the process, but always felt Canadian and wanted to always do something like this. So returning back to Canada in later years gave me the opportunity to find a lot more materials and connect with some of the subjects which are in the archive, and they've really got behind me as well, and it really helped to make things progress really quickly. I'd just like to say thank you to the ADCC for inviting me to do this. It's really cool of you. Thanks Michelle and thanks Claire. It's an honour, and it's obviously I hope the telethon goes really well tonight and you'll raise loads of money, and it's a really important organisation, certainly the oldest in Canada of its kind, and I think that, you know, just like Canada Modern, we need to preserve and protect and cherish what they do and help them to survive and go on to future generations. Following on from my talk, there'll be a kind of introduction and sharing of the Design Canada film by my good friend Greg Durrell. You'll find that there's some of the pieces that are in the film come from the archive. I did have a bit of a role in the film, and so some of the pieces you might recognise when you come to watch that. Also there's some themes which we'll cover, which will also kind of come together in Technicolor magic on the film, which really kind of helps bring things into contextual sense of things, and I think it's really cool then to see it come to life, as opposed to just looking at the documented side of things, which I've got here. Yeah, so basically I think I've kind of going to pull a bunch of stuff out. I'll put them on the desk over here. I've got some other posters on the side here. I've got some stamps. I've got a few slides. We'll see how we get on with time. I'll share things with you. Allow her just to sort of take her time and flip through the pages, have a bit of fun, and I thought I'd start the evening off with one of my favourites, just to get the ball rolling, and this one's for the Montreal 1976 Olympics, and this is the graphics manual, which obviously, so this piece, of course the symbol on the front and featured within was famously designed by Canadian designer George Huel, based in Montreal but was born in Saskatchewan. The manual itself is designed by Pierre-Yves Peltier and Raymond Bellemare, and is a very pure design system manual, basically showing type, colour, grids. These chips here have been used. This was from the Quality Control Office of Gottschalk and Ash in Montreal, and used by the G&A office as well. So these things are used obviously during the games and references taken. Very information heavy, you know, very strict on how things should be laid out. It's not filled with applications and pictures of signage and vehicles and that kind of stuff. It's very much focused on the pure design system for the identity, proportions, how to construct, how to combine with other elements, typography, typical do's and don'ts. how to combine, how the logo is constructed and its grid. Here's really nice detail. The ink traps sit in the corners for when it's at small scale. Don't usually see that, but when it's blown up like this you can really see them. It's really lovely. And obviously explains the symbol and what it means. Yeah, it's wonderful. This one is a really special box set of all the individual sports, basically the sports programs. Comes in this awesome box. It's got all the sports on the top in French and English, and they're all sort of tabbed in this sequence, which takes you through them all, and really beautifully tabbed. Obviously you need to always keep them in sequence in this wonderful box. As you see, it has all the events in their own booklet in alphabetical order. A big one for gymnastics. And these are the kind of primary images that we used on posters and other materials as well for each event. And inside, I mean, these are literally brand new inside. I don't think anyone's ever looked at them. Tells you all the rules, conditions, the locations, the equipment, what the awards are, records, where the events will be held, the dates and times. Various information about members and pricing, etc., etc. And in 1971, Burton Kramer designed this tomb, Canadian architecture, 1960-70, which is a pretty sizable piece, showcasing some incredible Canadian modernist architecture. Case-bound book. So it's got these amazing, lots of concrete you'd expect from the era, and modernism in its design of the book, but obviously the imagery as well. A lot of these buildings in different locations throughout the country, and I'm sure some of them don't exist anymore. Lots of really nice imagery. Habitat, Expo 67. There's a mixture of residential properties, churches, and lots of interesting kind of construction, interesting materials and details. Shows you it in sort of photographic and illustrative and rendered architectural elevations and floor plans, and there's a little bit of commercial signage in there. Education, Trent University particularly, an amazing example. Still yet to visit. York, Scarborough. And some more Burton Kramer, this series of books, the Canadian play series. They've all got this same design on the cover, pretty much the signature Burton Kramer pop art approach. I think there's one or two missing, which I still need to find, but really nicely done. Really simple but really complex at the same time. Love these. And prior to Burton Kramer, I'm going to take this one out of its wrapper. Prior to Burton Kramer starting his own studio under his own name, he worked for Clairtone, the electronics company who made high-end hi-fis. This is one of the operating manuals for a Clairtone T13, T14. So yeah, very functional, very simple. 2 colours. Basically, you would have got this with your stereo system. Explaining how to use it. Not the most immaculate piece, but actually quite a hard thing to come by. You can still detect the kind of Burton Kramer influence in there. And also working with Burton Kramer on this material was Margaret Kapler and Bill Hedges. They were also working with him. And this one, Graphica 67, being one of my favourites. It's fairly insignificant in this black case, but look at that. Has this pen nib broken down into bands of colour, and each band of colour represents a particular category. Designed by Yvon Laroche and Pierre-Yves Peltier, who famously also worked on the Olympics after this. Yeah, I think this one is possibly an ex-library. Has some advertising at the back. Laroche Peltier, who designed the piece. Again, broken into sections. Each colour representing a specific category. Some Centennial work, advertising. It's nice just to have that kind of addition of colour. I think it really adds something to the predominant black and white inside. Yeah, and a lot of these pieces, you know, I'll get this annual first, and it's a way of identifying things I didn't know about, and so it's been a good picking list, if you like, so I can go and hunt things down. Logos, again, centennial year, so got a centennial. Then just moving on to the great designer Rolf Harder, who also worked with, for many years, with his partner Ernst Rock. They had a design studio called Design Collaborative. Bit of work from both of them. These books, these were just school books. Some of you who are old enough may even remember them, but these were high school books, Methods of Science. Just beautiful, simple, graphic covers for each subject. Well, for each, I guess they were semesters or years. I have to open them again, but yeah, they each have this colorway. Number 1, number 2. In surprisingly good condition. These had to come from a long way away, gather them all together, because they're not really meant to survive the test of time as school book. They're meant to kind of last the curriculum and then be discarded. Something just so simple and beautiful about these. I love these. Number 3. White one. This one, strangely enough, is slightly different to the others, in that the others are one continuous design that wraps, whereas this one has a sort of mirroring going on, whereas the back and the front are the same and slightly oversized as well. And then number 4, this green one. Plants, pineapple, prism. There's all the kind of themes and abstract illustrations that kind of explain some of the subject matter. Absolutely love those. And they're really hard to find. Sometimes you can find a couple of occasional pieces of them. They tend to be quite battered, drawn all over, of course. Another one which Rolf Harder did, which takes Stuart Ash's centennial symbol, is this paperback here, created for the Royal Bank of Canada to promote the centennial, which is available like on mass market kind of publication. A lot of people might have it. It's only the cover designed, as with the Methods of Science, so not a lot to show you inside, but you could probably find these ones quite easily. But it took me a long time to work out that Rolf Harder designed this, because there's no credit on it at all. This one was done by Rolf Harder's design partner Ernst Rock, and this one is actually Paper Zoo. It was created for the Museum of Modern Art in New York. It's actually got his name on the cover, so he obviously arranged this special commission by the museum, and it's a set to paper folding set, which holds all the pieces. So yeah, like a double-sided slip case. Inside you get all the instructions. This is the instructions for making basically animals out of paper, and how to fold them sort of origami style. But specifically the paper's been some of them have been pre-scored like this. In fact, they're all pre-scored, and they come in a range of colours, some with patterns on them as well, print on them, again for specific animals, zebras and stripy animals and spotty animals. And this is all in absolutely mint condition. It's never been used. Now I've got a lot of materials which are sort of loose items, sort of thinner, marketing, promotional leaflets, brochures, ephemera, bits and bobs, and I tend to try to keep those if I've got enough of them into a more kind of boxed solution. So I've got 3 boxes here of G&A work, and I'm just going to go through the box with you. This particular first one, Metric Commission, this is by far and away one of my favourite pieces as well, famously by Stuart Ash. The metric symbol is a rotated M with a maple leaf in it. You've got these very kind of distinctive shapes within it, which are again, they're the ink traps, and that kind of trap the ink, but they also become this kind of flourish, which gives it a little bit more of a human touch. Just really nice detail. This is the actual usage manual. Again, really simple in the same way as some of the other ones we looked at. It's a very pure graphic expression. Use of the symbol, different scales. This one's for a very small scale, hence the much more exaggerated forms, and this is a little bit straighter, a larger scale. Using colour and combinations and lockups and proportions and combinations with type this one does have some examples of the symbol in use. I actually have all the slides for this work, plus prints as well of it all, just to kind of help the industry implement it and give them some inspiration. And we have other like materials, reports. This is actually a song, the metric song, which I have yet to put on the site. It's got a 7-inch single and all the lyrics inside of it, and diagrams of how to use metric measurements. Promotional literature to introduce it. Poster. An updated usage guide. It came a little bit later on, which has a slightly more detailed illustration style on it. I think Freddie Yagi did this illustrations in this one. The guides, and this is publication design standards, so it's showing you it in use in applications. Reports. Yeah, that's all it for this one. It's absolutely amazing set, that one. Really glad to be able to share it with you. They're going to try and get more of this on the site soon. It just takes a while, as you can imagine. And back at the top. So this box is for Claude Neon. Again, absolutely fantastic work. Really innovative his time. It basically consisted of these 6 symbols, and each is like a kind of a deconstructed, sliced version of a full letter C. And there's also like a range of colours, which ultimately resulted in there being 60 unique variants. And the theme of the identity was that change is the only constant. Basically, the company Claude Neon were in the billboard industry, outdoor display, and so they kind of use this as a metaphor for constantly changing advertisements and environment around you that you would see on your journeys, and business to business, business consumer. And they kind of encouraged you to utilize every different combination each unique time, so that there's always this change in everything that was produced. I have all these lovely pieces, different annual reports and covers. A lot of this I still to put online, but it's really incredible work. Folder, and all different versions of the same. Outdoor rates, different annual reports. Again, like you can see, they're really pushing the envelope with trying to express the identity in different ways every time as what was intended. Advertising. Stationery. No carbon copies, no colour on that just all in black and white. Tent card, sort of stand-ups, promotional pieces. Sort of later booklets they produce, and prints of the. I've got all the slides of the vehicles and a lot of the sort of implementation of this work. You may have seen the zine that I created with Richard Bear from Logo Archive, and there's a central piece in that where I've digitized a lot of those slides. Yeah, the older pieces. Newer pieces, should I say. So, and one of the most incredible pieces which I am really fortunate to have been given was from Stuart Ash himself, was this original artwork of the symbols for Claude Neon. So these were hand painted by Freddie Yagi, who was in the Montreal office. Of course, the client was in Toronto, but it was produced across both studios. And and these were the hand painted symbols which were presented to the client. I mean, the detail and the accuracy is phenomenal. Anyone looking at them would probably just assume they were printed, but no, these are hand rendered. So really nice and important piece. So I'd share with you. So I thought I'd share some posters. I've already pulled a few out. So in 1975, prior to the Olympic Games happening, they ran effectively a test event, and international competitions to ultimately to see how they ran things, check the logistics, check all the things to see that they can do the job properly. And they created an identity and some materials for that event. And this I've only have two, but this particular one is really nice. This is for boxing. And I'm just going to go on some Montreal Olympics posters that followed. I have a smaller version of this, but because of the distance I was going to show a bigger one. This has been folded. This is the symbol in red that also came in white. Amick, the official mascot of the games. Absolute dude with his rainbow, way ahead of his time. 76. This one is definitely in the film. This is for the stadium. It's metallic silver, and it has the Olympic Stadium architectural drawings overlaid, again with all the colours in that central rainbow. All these posters come in 3 different sizes, so there's like a small A4 one, and there's a big one like this, and a medium size, and many of them I have variant sizes. This is the large version of the flowing logo flag. Ivana Roche designed. Absolutely love this one. Really nice abstraction of the logo. It's bold red. Have that in a smaller version too. This is basically the schedule of events and where they are and when they're being held, and that would have been used to help you understand what's going on. And then there's another poster which has all the stadiums and locations where the events were being held, laid out, giving all the details of what went on there. And I'm going to go over to Expo now. This is a more official one. And George Uel, who did the Montreal Olympics, designed this one. It's basically the theme of the expo was man and his world. So you have this men's thumb holding the symbol like a little globe, and having a look through it, a bit like a telescope or binoculars. And this one, I believe, came in the reverse version as well. This one is white. Some of the more official posters. There's a series of 4 of these. I only have 3. The green one is absent. Again, there's this kind of very akin to the time. There was this illustrative style which was used and combined really beautifully with the typography and use of space. So that one's the blue one with Mum on it. Then there is an orange one, and that's the daughter, because it's basically representing a family. And that's the orange one with the daughter on it. And then I have Dad in pink. And like I said, the green one is missing, and that is the sun. And I've got a lot of expo posters, I won't show you them all. This one's particularly nice, I haven't put this one up yet. This is for the Youth Pavilion. Really graphic, striking. It's kind of that kind of combination of pure modernism and abstraction, which is really nice. It feels like it represents Canada really nicely. Simple, 2 colours. Now this one is one of the most valuable pieces in the collection. I'm fortunate to have 2 copies. This is the Canadian Pulp and Paper Pavilion, famously designed by Ernst Rock. About as rare as you can get. If you ever see one, get it, because it's worth a lot of money. Absolute purity, typography at the top, simple, bold graphic. The shapes symbolise actually how they built the pavilion for the Pulp and Paper Company, and they've got these roofs which are similar to that. So if you can find like an old postcard or a book, you can kind of see how that translates. It's super cool, that one. Haven't put that on the site yet. Just a little bit of G&A. I've got some more of the materials coming soon, but here's a series of posters for the St. Lawrence Centre. Touch of Poet, Twelfth Night, The Trial, Electra, and Baldessor. I've scanned these in, I'll be putting these on the site soon as well. I assume these would have come in a bigger version as well. These are the only ones I have. Cool. Some Burton Kramer. I've got 3 posters. These actually came from Rolf Harder's estate, so these would have been originally mailed to Rolf Harder to as Christmas gifts. There's one from 1970. Burton would have created, rather than Christmas cards, he would have made these posters. 1970, this is 1969. That's really nice, I haven't put that one on the site yet. Also have this version, which is for Carol Ike, who was a photographer. He used to share the studio with Burton Kramer one time when he first started out. This is actually a design which is also created for Burton Kramer, but has been repurposed for Carol Ike. So one assumes they shared the Christmas gift that year. Burton doesn't actually have any recollection of that happening, but it's written on there, so definitely happened. And a few Rolf Harders, and then it'll be all the posters. And this is basically a bromide PMT of typeface that Rolf Harder developed. This is from Rolf Harder's collection. See if you can see. It's called DMS 10. Not sure it ever got properly made into a digital typeface. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I had a lot of fun sharing all those things with you. Nothing better than going through some of these great pieces and showing them to people, and hopefully getting the same enthusiasm that I get. Don't always get to sort of share them in this way, so it's really nice to put it out there and allow you to come and have a little insight into the archive and the work that I do. Best of luck tonight at ADCC. I hope you raise loads of cash and we can see you through for a long time to come. Enjoy Greg's film, and yeah, catch me up if you need anything more on the website. Each piece that's on there has a lot more information, so it's pretty much a study aid and tells you a lot more detail. Find me on Instagram and Twitter, and yeah, great. I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Evening.